hang on. My all of the porn that I've ever downloaded is probably up on my screen for some reason.
You are a disgrace.
I thought you were a libertarian.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Political Dregs. I'm Calvin Robinson, and with me is Hamish Hunter, Amir JD, and Joel Davidson.
How you doing?
Hi everyone. Hey.
Good.
So the thing I wanted to talk about today, which struck me, I saw a picture on Twitter of Mike Pence, the US Vice President, who's been in charge of the US's response to coronavirus, and he was holding a meeting with the sort of various people, and the picture was of him and these people all sitting around, and before they started saying a prayer, and someone on Twitter commented that they were praying for a solution, and the world is fucked because that's all we've got. And it made me think actually about the role of prayer, not just in US public spaces, but actually in our country, and how we view politicians or public figures who express their faith or talk about their faith. And I was slightly concerned because I'm not someone who has faith myself, but I wouldn't necessarily seek to ridicule it, because frankly, at worst, it's harmless. Well, I know, Calvin, that you are a man of faith yourself, and I wondered what your thoughts were on how society treats people who have faith and who talk about their faith, and whether there's any role for that in public life.
I think there absolutely is a role for that in public life. I think if you look back at a lot of our great leaders, Margaret Thatcher as one of them, who I think she had faith at the core of everything she did as Prime Minister. I can think of some examples later, but we used to have, as a country, a moral compass that was centered around the Christian faith. And as we've become more and more secular, we've done away with that, which is fair enough. As a liberal person, I kind of think that, each to their own, and if you don't want to have a faith, that's up to you. But at the same time, we should respect those who do. And that's what we've left behind. That's what we've lost. We've got to a point where if you show any sign of having a faith, you're looked down upon, or you're considered a bigot, xenophobic, racist, sexist, all of these things. Doesn't matter, particularly with the Abrahamic religions, but it doesn't really matter. Look at the Lib Dems, for example. You're not allowed to be a Lib Dem and a Catholic anymore. You get booted out of the party. Look at their former leader. And in the Labour Party, it's a similar case now.
Tim Farron, when he resigned as leader of the Liberal Democrats, said that it was impossible to be a follower of Jesus and be leader of the Lib Dems. Mm-hmm. Which
but he's still a Lib Dem. You can't just say you'd be booted out. He's a Lib Dem.
Yeah, but it struck me as an extraordinary thing for someone to say, and it made me think. Well, one of my favourite sort of sayings about the Bible, about the Christian faith, is you can either take the Bible literally or you can take it seriously. And there are, outside this sort of ultra Protestant literalist tradition, there's room for a lot of discussion and debate about views in the Christian churches, and views on same-sex relationships, views on probably more fundamental things like heaven and hell and all those sorts of things. But so it struck me as really interesting that Tim Farron felt like he had to say that, because I have no problem with the idea of someone being a Liberal Democrat or a leader of the Liberal Democrats and being a Christian, in the same way that I don't have a problem with someone being a physicist and being a Christian.
Hamish, the problem is when you allow your beliefs, your faith, or as some might say, your superstition or your superstitious ideas and beliefs to direct and to create your policy, when your policy is derived from your faith. Okay?
No, that's exactly what they should do.
No, but it's not something that it's something that you're being taught, and now you're trying to use that to impress on others. It's not a democratic event. It's It's something that you've been given or you've been encouraged to learn or you've discovered, and now you're using that to impress it on other people. So, for example, you might be taught that sexuality is wrong, and then you will engage with the process of creating policy and creating laws, which makes it illegal to be homosexual. Now that's wrong.
But the democratic event is voting that person in, and if you know what their faith is, you should know where they stand on issues.
But that's Margaret democratic event.
Margaret Thatcher said, economics is the method.
Calvin, democracy is a continuing...
Oh, economics is the method, the object is to change the soul. And I love that quote of hers, because it means that what we're doing isn't just the day-to-day job. We're actually thinking about the core, the morals behind what we're doing, the why and the how, not just what.
I do have some sympathy with some of what Amir says. I remember when during maybe after the Iraq War, Tony Blair said that when he met at one point with George W. Bush, he said that they prayed together. There was a question. It was after the journalist asked him, "Did they pray together?" And Blair was a bit
he was hesitant, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I understand that, because the idea, even for me, and I try to be a fairly tolerant individual, the idea of the US president, who's probably a bit of an evangelical, and Blair, who, as we know, was slightly all over the place with his religion, sort of sitting down and praying, and you're sort of slightly concerned that maybe some of them, one or the other of them, thinks that God is speaking to them and that they're making decisions about global war.
What a bizarre assumption. Why are we always so suspicious of people praying?
No. Well, indeed.
That's
certainly how I felt.
I don't think that's a problem, Hamish. I also have faith, of a different faith, Jewish faith, and I think that there are positive things about my faith: kindness to others, humility, and venerating the family. That I think are very positive things that drive me in everything I do. So,
do you think they should be part of the public sphere? Would you be happy, if we had a prime minister that sort of talked about God or talked about their Christian faith or indeed their Jewish faith? Would that be something that you'd be happy with?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm actually very happy living in a Christian country, and I think that we should. I think that what makes this country great actually is its the established church. I think it's incredible, as someone who isn't Christian, to see the way that the established Christian church tolerates an enormous amount of abuse, denigration of itself. And I think that if we had politicians who were prepared to say that the positive things of their faith were guiding them in making positive decisions, I don't think that would be a problem at all. I think that would be a good thing.
The problem is this, okay? People like Mike Pence, people who are surrounding the president of America, are crazy evangelicals. They're literal Bible believers who believe in an end time, who believe in an Armageddon, who believe in Magog and Gog and Russia and Iran and China uniting together to attack Israel and in a final end time war. Look, these people literally believe in the book of Revelation. They believe it's going to happen, and they are almost it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They feel that they're part of God's plan to make this happen. This very dangerous what you're suggesting. I mean, I have no problem with people of faith. Actually, I like it.
But you've literally just been sneering at them.
I'm not. I like it. I like that people have moral values, and they have a belief system which guides them. And actually, I think people have the right, and they should have the right to follow their beliefs and their faith. And everyone has their own experience with God or their beliefs and other people, and that's fine. But the problem occurs when you have people like that get into positions of high power, and then they are now somehow God's oracle, God's mouthpiece, God's vengeance, and they utilize that to hurt other people. That's a problem for me.
I think that I would be uncomfortable if we got to the stage which America has reached. Ironically, given the separation, the constitutional separation in church and state, and yet you never see a speech from the President of the United States, whoever they are, when they don't mention God. I mean, I can't remember the last time the British Prime Minister mentioned God, and that's right. And I think that's right, because that's one of the reasons, one of the many great things about the British Constitution is the Queen can do God, and the Prime Minister does the politics, and that's, I think, right, because I worry that there becomes a litmus test of who can and cannot be president. Like, can we imagine a US president who was an atheist? It seems unlikely. But also, there is that slight suspicion, and I completely accept that this is irrational. But this slight suspicion, I slightly agree with Amir, is that, are they thinking clearly about these issues, or are they hearing voices and being told what to do?
I think you're both absolutely fucking outrageous, to be honest. I think because having a faith, having a belief structure doesn't mean that you're suddenly, what's the word for these people that kind of think they're prophets or oracles, or that's megalomania. That's completely separate to being religious, and to assume that just having a religion and being in a position of power or influence combines the two and all of a sudden makes you one of these bloody cult leaders is fucking outrageous. It's fucking outrageous.
Yeah, that's not what we think. We agree with you, Calvin.
No, that's what you two have both just said.
No,
Go on.
Donald Trump brought John Hagee to when the new embassy was moved to Jerusalem. He brought John Hagee. You don't know John Hagee, but I tell you something, Calvin. John Hagee thinks you personally are going to hell. He thinks Hamish is going to hell. He thinks Joel is going to hell. He thinks I'm going to hell. This guy has written I've read his book. He's reading a book about the end times, and we're all going to hell.
Okay.
So
I'm still waiting to hear the problem.
Defending. These are the people that you're defending.
Yes, I will defend to the death his right to believe that.
These aren't people of faith. These are extremists. But
I think he's going to hell. So what's
exactly. What's the problem there?
The point is they've allowed their beliefs to infiltrate politics. They've allowed their beliefs to influence their politics. And these are not like Hamish said, these are, they're hearing voices, but what voices are there? I mean, are these the people that you want leading us?
It's really not about hearing voices, Amir. It's about having a framework and a context for how you live your life and how you view society. It's not, I don't hear voices. I mean,
I know you don't, Joel.
From my daughter when she's, waking me up in the middle of the night, but I don't.
You've never heard the voice of God?
I don't think of it like that. No, I see my faith as a way of understanding the world and my actions within it. So
we respect that, Joel. No one is questioning your integrity.
But are you happy? Are you happy, therefore, just with?
There's lots that God can't do, for instance.
But so you're happy with a sort of Christian state where at its lowest, the teachings of Jesus Christ inform the leaders. Are you happy with Islamic theocracy?
Well, that's another question. Do I want to live in an Islamic theocratic state? No. There are many options for people to live in those states if they wish to, and of course,
not for Iranians.
I would. Sorry.
Not for Iranians. I mean, they have no choice.
Well, they don't have a genuine democracy, do they?
But still, I mean, look, it's
that's another matter. Yeah.
Look, let me give
Joel
you
probably wouldn't vote for someone who's running on a platform of Islamism, would he?
I would not. No.
We mock Islamic theocracy. Yeah. I mean, yesterday Majid Nawaz said, according to this perverted Muslim Iranian cleric, the pre-bedtime application of essential oils to the anus cures coronavirus. Okay. And he says, when will we evolve beyond such quackery? Yeah. And so he's mocking someone's faith. And I know, because of Iranians are superstitious. They're very superstitious. They have weird customs that I don't even understand. And certainly people from the West aren't going to understand. But I'm not going to mock them for their weird customs and their weird quackery and mock their faith and their beliefs. And it's the same thing. Like you can mock other religions because it doesn't suit you, but when people mock your religion and how it intertwines with your politics, you get offended or you get upset.
I think
I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you're talking about there.
for this country, though, we have always had a skepticism of evangelicalism, actually, of extreme religious fervor. Obviously, going right back to the Mayflower and the dissenters, etc. So that has been in our political DNA, if you like, to be skeptical of that. But we seem to see now a sort of strange alliance of on the left of atheism, radical atheism, if you like, or extreme atheism, with then of course the radical Islam as well on the left, and that seems a very strange alliance, because one is extremely theocratic, and the other one rejects it entirely. So I wonder whether that circle will ever be squared, actually.
I see no problem with someone's religious beliefs informing their outlook on life and the values they stand for and the political policies they apply. I am more suspicious of people that are able to separate their religion and say, actually, that's something I believe, but I'm locking that away and I'm going to fight for this politically. That, to me, is much more suspicious. And I'm going to, without rattling on about Thatcher all night, I'm going to give you one more quote of hers. Children need security and must be brought up in a stable, loving environment in which parents offer time, affection, and guidance. These things are most likely when the parents are married and stay married. To me, that is a sensible suggestion of supporting a family structure, not a particular prescribed family structure, but it's a policy that's centered in Christian faith. So I know where her morals are from, I know what she believes and where it's coming from, and that makes perfect sense to me. I can align with that thought and that policy. That's what I want.
Yeah,
what about Section 28?
No doubt.
But that's a legal thing, because when we have laws around anti-discrimination, and that's why there are protections there in a legal footing, of course, for homosexuals and various other groups, which I completely support. And of course, we saw a problem there with the Birmingham schools, didn't we? Where the teaching of homosexuality, or not even homosexuality, the teaching of differing family structures to very young children caused a huge problem in Birmingham, and I'm still not sure that it's actually been resolved. I think that the curriculum was just suspended and has been sort of swept under the carpet. That can't happen. There needs to be a realization that certain laws need to be adhered to in this country, but at the same time, we of course have to respect and do respect people's religious views and see that as a positive.
Well, I think two things. First of all, I don't agree that it is always better for parents to stay married. If the marriage isn't working, then that's staying married for the sake of staying married may not be the right thing to do.
I don't think that's what that quote was talking about, though. That quote was addressing... look at the issue we have now with knife crime in London, based on the number of fatherless kids. It's about a marriage choice, a lifestyle choice.
I think what it's about. I think actually what really matters for any child is to be loved, to have a safe, supporting environment at home, and that can come in all forms, and that can certainly not happen in a heterosexual marriage. It can absolutely, but there's certainly circumstances where a man and a woman being married do not provide that. In terms of teaching about alternative family structures, frankly, I've never understood the idea that children shouldn't be exposed to this. Apart from anything, I mean, there are children who grow up in those environments, and when they deal with it, should we respect the religious views? I think I wouldn't want to stamp it out and say you're not allowed to believe that. But I don't respect that view. I don't. If someone comes up to me and says that I believe that you're going to hell because you're a sodomite, I don't respect that.
But will you tolerate it?
He has no choice.
But then will you allow it to happen? And that's the problem. And I know.
Well, I'm not going to say, "Oh, please, tell me more about that." And I'm going to say, "I'm not interested. I don't want to hear your view. I'm not going to assist you in promulgating that." But I'm not going to say, "Well, you must not say it. You must not believe it."
But that's what
And
happened.
I'm not going to allow you to sort of exercise any control or influence on that.
No, but are you going to allow them to teach their kids what they believe, or are you going
Well,
to
they can
force
do
them?
whatever they want to do in the privacy of their own home. But if they're going to go to school in this country, then they're going to be taught and the curriculum that applies to everyone, and that means they're going to learn science, and they're going to learn history, and they're going to learn English, and they're going to learn whatever it's called, PSHE, or social studies, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And if they don't like that, that's fine. They can have their own beliefs. And there's a query whether schools should be sort of teaching that sort of thing. But actually, I went to a school where I went to chapel every week until I was, went to university, and I don't believe in God, but I'm perfectly happy to get up and sing a hymn and listen to an interesting sermon.
But there is a point where secular schools are pushing an agenda. They are pushing a belief structure that is contrary to what the parents and the families believe. And this PSHE does bring that up, because I remember when I was at school, they were taught, it's okay to have sex very liberally with whoever you want, whenever you want. They did teach you how to use contraception. And again, these are things that are against my religion. In my religion, sex is something contained within a loving marriage, and contraception is
unfortunately you have to get real. And
it's not about getting real. It's about beliefs. So one set of beliefs comes above another set of beliefs, and the state's beliefs come above religious beliefs.
Well, public health, I think, has to get.
But it's not a public health issue.
Safe sex is absolutely a public health.
No, I'm not talking about safe sex. I'm talking about liberal sex outside of marriage.
I don't know what liberal sex is.
Liberal sex means having sex with as many people as you want, as much often as you want.
Teaching safe sex.
You're twisting around what I'm saying.
Hamish, order.
Hamish, if you only have sex within marriage...
Oh, Jesus.
Yes, what about him?
Teaching safe sex promotes safe sex. The idea that teaching safe sex promotes sex is frankly ridiculous.
No, my point is you're not teaching safe sex.
That's not his point, Hamish. That's not his point.
I mean, you can argue what you like, but you're not arguing against my point, so it doesn't matter.
Hamish, that's not his point.
What is his point?
He let him tell you.
The way to challenge that, though, Calvin,
so teenagers have sex, right? So they should. I agree that no one should be told that they can have. It's no part of a school's job to say you can have sex with X, Y, or Z. But should teenagers be told and educated about safe sexual practice?
No, Hamish, he's talking about how sex should be within a loving relationship. He's talking about sex being within a union of marriage, because that's the sacrament. I don't know if that's the right word.
No, I understand that.
Yeah. And he's saying that
the reality is that teenagers have sex. Even Christian teenagers have sex before marriage, and they should be having safe sex rather than unsafe sex. And that's where sex education comes in.
Yeah, but it's so if the message is not,
you're not going to stop them having sex. You're only going to stop them having unsafe sex.
Well, in America, they do try to stop them having sex, and that's the question. Do we allow the religious beliefs to change our society so that our laws are based on religious beliefs, or do religious beliefs have to follow our secular laws so that health and safe sex is more important than the moral kind of the moral
I would bet you £100 that teenage pregnancies have gone up since the Enlightenment, Hamish. The moment we started teaching that it's okay to have sex with whoever you want, whenever you want, with no consequences, and there's no seriousness to sex and no intimacy, it's all about pleasure, I guarantee you that teenage pregnancy rates went up, because you are encouraging people to have sex more. It's not about they're going to do it anyway, make sure they're doing it safe. You are actively encouraging young people to have sex.
Is that a problem?
I think actually.
Is it a problem, Calvin, for young people to have sex?
I think you might be wrong about that.
Look it up.
People.
It it can cause a lot of problems.
Geoffrey of Anjou sired the Plantagenet dynasty when he was 14 years old, and no one cared about that. I think actually you find that the sexual development, men are in their sexual prime, a lot younger than they start having children nowadays. We've actually
that chlorinated chicken.
We've actually started infantilizing sort of people who were previously seen as men. I mean, remember the Jewish religion. You're a man from the age from your bar mitzvah, age 13. But the point is, if you don't want to have sex before marriage, that is absolutely fine. But you're not going to prohibit my child's access to.
Again, I'm not trying to prohibit any fucking safe sex. I'm talking about making a social norm that it's okay to have sex.
Nobody had sex before marriage before the 60s.
No, that's not what he's saying. The point is, saying it's a free for all for kids, and that sex has no consequences, and you don't have to be in a relationship. That causes a lot of problems to kids later down the line.
Indeed. If you want to teach how to have safe sex, that's one thing. If you want to teach the moral stance and the implications of the seriousness of having sex, that's another thing. We miss out the second point. So the first
that's a very Victorian attitude.
The way to solve this problem is...
It's called a Christian attitude, mate.
The way to solve this problem is to raise the age of consent, actually. Right now it's 16. In some countries in Europe, 14. If we raised it to 18, then I think younger people would take it a little bit more seriously. Like, you don't think so?
Yeah, you just criminalise a load of 16 and 17-year-olds.
I would raise the age of consent for 18 to everything. So
if you had a young daughter, you would raise the age of consent to 18.
No, I do.
I think one of the strangest things about parenthood is the prurient interest that fathers apparently have in the sex lives of their daughters. I mean,
no, that's not about the sex life of their daughters. Is they don't want them to get used by young horny boys.
Yes. So what you do is you educate them and you tell them about this. You speak honestly.
Sometimes education does not overpower hormones and sexual.
Yes, and so ultimately the question is: do you have safe sex, age 16, or do you have unsafe sex?
Or no sex. That's the point.
Yeah, but that's not an option. It's just not an option. The idea that
it is an option, actually. In your mind, it's not an option.
Why is abstinence not an option? Why
it is an option.
If we're teaching how to use a condom, why are we not teaching about abstinence?
It is possible to not have sex. I mean, I don't think you're right, Hamish. I usually agree with you, but in this point, I think you're off the mark. It is an option to not have sex at the age of 16.
Actually, I think you'll find it's becoming more common as well, because this is a cyclical thing, in that during the 70s and 80s, people were having sex left, right, and centre, and then the younger generation now are actually abstaining for longer because there's a whole. It's like a trad movement. People actually want to get married and enter a loving relationship before they enter an intimate, passionate relationship with someone.
Great, but even so, people should be aware. I mean,
no one's fucking saying they shouldn't be aware of how to have sex safely. For fuck's sake, we're past that point. We're not talking about that.
I mean, I think it's dangerous.
That is what you're saying, isn't it?
Hold on.
Okay, what you're saying is that there should be taught in sex education. Don't have sex. Okay, fine.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the moral implications. I'm talking about the seriousness and treating it with some reverence. I'm not talking about you shouldn't be taught how to have sex safely.
Calvin, you make a really good point, but personally, I think it's dangerous to not have sex before you get married.
Hamish, did they teach you how to have sex safely? My school didn't teach how to have homosexual sex safely.
I mean, my school didn't teach about homosexuality, so...
we were taught. I remember my first sex ed class was when I was age 13, and we learned how to put on a condom, and it was very useful information.
Okay, but we got to this point because we were saying that, or I was saying that the state's beliefs, the secular beliefs of the state, are being prioritized over people's religious beliefs, and I don't think that's right. I know you guys disagree.
After this conversation, I was feeling quite open and generous to the Jesus fans, and now I'm very concerned. I think perhaps we should relegate them to the monasteries and practice their abstinence.
I'm not a Jesus fan per se. I think he was a nice guy, but
aren't you still waiting for him to come?
he was one of the chaps, but he was around, one of the guys, but had some good things to say. But look, the morality here comes from the family, and the school needs to provide a range of options, I think, for information for children. And I think potentially there is a role for a greater weight to be put on relationships, the importance of relationships, and also the option of abstinence if it's there. I don't particularly feel. Why are you laughing? I mean,
so fucking progressive, Hamish. You're literally sneering at religious
I
values.
think there are many individuals who would have benefited enormously from having less sex, frankly, and less partners when they were much younger.
Indeed.
And I think there are a lot of people who would regret a lot of their sexual relationships when they were younger, and they did not do them any good. In fact, I know many people like that. So, and as I am a parent now, and I would very much like to see schools offering that sort of balance. And I'm a school governor, and I will certainly, it's for governors and parents and all interested parties to be actively pursuing schools to make sure that they are giving a range of options to kids and giving them the full picture. So I don't see a problem with that if you think that's rise by, and that's coming from someone who's by definition not a Jesus fan. So I think morality is what this is about, and that's the challenge, over the next however long for us to get this right again.
Good.
Remember, kids, if you want to have sex, just don't.
Use a condom.
Just don't.
Oh, don't.
But don't with that sleazy old twat who's hanging around outside the school. No, definitely don't.
Calvin's mad at you, Hamish.
Who's taking photos and videos and showing it to all his mates, for instance.
Yeah, you're worth more than that.
This is extraordinary. Extraordinary. I can't believe what I've actually listened to.
Well,
look,
let us know what you think in the comments below.
Do you think abstinence works?
What our friends of the show think of this? Are they letting it all hang out like Hamish, or do they think that we should have a bit
realistic? I'm realistic about the fact that teenagers have sex.
And so we know that they have sex.
Your solution is just to tell them not to.
No, I think
you just don't get it.
A lot more realistic.
I definitely don't get it. I completely don't get it. That is 100% true.
Yeah,
that's 100%
good.
True.
And on that note, thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment, and we will see you on the next one. Cheers.
Bye, everyone. Have safe sex.
Don't have sex until you're married. Hamish,
if you don't want to.
Do you have?
Presumably you don't live by that, Calvin.
Oh, look, you want me to talk about my personal
the
sex life?
Hamish, Calvin, Hamish is right. Okay, look. The fact of the matter is, the reason why there is so much divorce is because some people don't have sex until they're married. They have sex and they go, "What the fuck?"
That's not the reason we have so much divorce.
Why not?
Most people have sex before marriage.
That is terrible. Calvin, the problem is
I have a set of values. Go on.
The problem is you, and this is where people have.
No, do it. Go on.
This is where people have issues with you with is it but you have sex. You have had sex.
Right. I have a set of values, right? And this is what my Christian faith is about, that I should be living my life here. But we are all sinners and we end up living our life here. It's about the striving to get to there and to be there, to be the best possible person we can and live in Christ. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I'm not saying that I always do the right thing. I sin quite often, but I try not to. That is what my faith is.
From a sort of mental health point of view,
yeah.
Is it better to actually, now undoubtedly people have bad sexual experiences and sexual experiences they regret, but is it healthy? Is it moral? Is it enriching to have perfectly meaningful sex with someone who you like, but you happen not to be married to? Or to have that and then feel, oh God, I've sinned, I've done something wrong. Isn't that making it even worse?
No, there's nuance there that you're ignoring, Hamish. There's that first part is fine. You shouldn't feel that that's a sin if it's a healthy relationship that you're in.
But Calvin does, obviously.
Well, he does, but that's one view. But I think that the better way to look at this is that there are bad sexual experiences, absolutely, which can be damaging, and therefore the default should not be that you should be encouraged to have sex with as many people as you like when your brain is very impressionable. That's dangerous.
And
Look,
there's a lot of scientific evidence out there that shows that
in marriage.
there's a lot of evidence that points to having sex with people you don't care about is actually bad for your mental health.
Yes, I would agree with that.
May I just
within marriage.
say something, guys? Listen, look.
As Joel will no doubt attest.
I think you have to accept that everyone is different, and everyone is different at different stages of their lives. Okay, for someone who's 18, they're young, they're impressionable, they have no idea what they're going to do with their lives. They've never had a relationship. You may be right, Calvin. Okay, but as you age, as you experience more, as your belief systems evolve and develop, you may change your viewpoints, and therefore, what may have been not necessarily helpful or healthy when you were younger may be okay when you're older. I don't think there's a right and wrong in this debate. I think
got a very good point there, Amir.
It depends.
Because if this is why you should wait until you're older to decide about things for yourself. Because if you do these things when you're young, you make mistakes. You can't take them back.
But making mistakes is good.
Not if you get STDs.
You only get an STD.
STI.
If you sleep around with as many people as you can for as long as you can, you will get an STD or
only if you don't practice safe sex.
No, even if you practice safe sex, you can get STD and HIV.
The reality is, that if people do get STIs, then it's a learning experience, and they're just going to have to deal with it. But now, what we're trying to do is protect our young people from the dangers and the perils of unsafe sexual intercourse. But the reality is,
but it's not just the physical things; it's the emotional and the spiritual damage that causes as well.
And I don't disagree with you too. When you're young, you're still trying to figure yourself out, trying to figure out your identity, your position in life, what you want to do, who you want to meet. Maybe you never had a girlfriend or boyfriend. Maybe you had one relationship and it was broken. Who knows? But different people have different experiences, and I think we have to just respect that fact that there's no one size fits all for this question, and that's really the point that I'm trying to make. Now, some cultures are different, and some cultures are different, and they have different philosophies, they have different ideas. It doesn't mean that faith is bad. It doesn't mean that the teaching is wrong. What it means is that it is a journey, and we really do have to find our way in this life.
And that's been Jeremy Kyle. Thank you for watching.
Hey, one of my clients is ITV.
One of your clients is Jeremy Kyle.
All right.
Can you talk about that?
No.
Are you going to do a friends of the show, or are you just going to sit there looking at your phone?
I'm just trying to think. Do we have any friends? They've all rejected us because we haven't broadcast.
Is he suing to get his job back or something?
Hamish, what are you doing?
I'm just rescheduling my laundrette. Calm down.
Oh, fucking hell. Wait, guys. Mark Higton. Bureaucracy isn't fascism. Exaggeration I can't condone.
There's a...
Look at that. Bureaucracy isn't fascism. Bureaucracy isn't... what the fuck, dude?
Right, go away. Should we say hello to some friends of the show? Anyone got any friends to say hello to shout out to little special mention?
Sure, I'll say hello to the Orthodox Conservatives. I think it's who are they? A right-wing pressure group who are trying to restore family values and conservatism within the Conservative Party. Pull us back to the right a little bit.
Well, you've done a pretty good job of that so far.
Tories being Tory again. Hi, Tory gang.
I met someone as I was walking to my mum's house in West Acton. Guess who it is? Alexandra Turner. She said, I watch your podcast. I watch the 2 podcasts and I love it. And especially Calvin.
I do love Alexandra. She's great.
And then I said to her, look, have you not watched the rest? She said, what? There's more? I said, yes, there's loads more. Go to our YouTube channel. In fact, I'm going to send you the link. So if you've only seen this one video, there's a lot more. So go to our YouTube channel and you'll find the rest.
She is incredibly sound. Works at the Bow Group.
Gosh, I feel like I need to say hello to
Some lefty liberal.
Hampstead Town Lib Dems or something.
H&K.
Hampstead Town Lib Dems. Vote Linda Chum 2020.
Oh, the actual Lib Dems. Oh, I thought you meant the Tories over there.
And I'll say a shout out to one adopted Geordie.
Your biggest fan. Although Joel took a test, he's very straight.
He wants you all to know how straight he is.
That is the case. One adopted. But look, it's great that you're a fan of the show, and please keep watching and please tell all your friends. And it's always nice to have attention when adopted. For many quarters. So that's much appreciated.
I think we should give a shout out to Amir because he's got coronavirus and he might not be here next time.
Great. See you soon. Like, comment, subscribe.
Okay. Thanks.
Is that it? Yeah. I think we need to wrap this up because
All right.
really don't like it.
What, Christians?
I was shocked. I'm genuinely shocked. Who knew that would cause such a fracas? You shouted at me, Calvin.
Yeah, because you were being really LD and not very tolerant of my views.
Guys, I have a dilemma.
What is it?
Are you recording this?
I can stop.